So Falkonry, what we do is we help industrial companies improve the throughput, the uptime, the quality, and the safety of their manufacturing and process operations. The way we do that, which is fairly unique, is we have prepackaged machine learning that can be used directly by their operations teams. There's no need for data scientists. In fact, that's why we call it a data scientist in a box. A little bit about us. So we have been at this now for a little while. We have been very successful. We've been actually acknowledged by Gartner as a cool vendor just last month. Last year, we were acknowledged by IDC as an innovator as well. And we just raised our Series A last month as well. We took on a few new strategic partners who also are customers of ours and who are implementing our solutions and embedding it into the solutions that they sell to their customers. And we have a strong list of partnerships that help us go not just here in the North America, but also operate globally as well. Before I get into what exactly the machine learning does, let me explain a little bit in terms of how we do it. What's unique about how we do this is we discover patterns in your existing data. So we're looking at time series data, and we're able to discover patterns which have waveform and shape. And if you look at these two diagrams, they're actually telling you, even though to your eye they look different, they're actually the same pattern, telling you a certain condition that's happening in your operations. And that's why the machine learning comes in, because the feature learning is really difficult to do. Just to get a sense of what this really looks like, let's take a look at how it's all structured together. We sit on top. We're a software that sits on top of your existing data infrastructure. So you can have data coming in from all different parts of your system, and we apply the feature learning to that, and that's really where the predictions come in. Where the human being comes in is into basically putting the labels on the data that we show. And then after that, it runs in real time on its own. As I was saying about Falkonry, we basically are providing operational machine learning where we're helping industrial customers improve the throughput, the uptime, the yield, and the safety of their operations. The way we do that, like I was mentioning before, is we provide a prepackaged machine learning system that can be used directly by their operations teams, does not require data scientists, and because of that, they're also able to see results in as little as 3 weeks. If you put data scientists in the loop, that's typically 6 to 9 months. So it gives you a context of the benefit over there. I talked a little bit about our funding. I talked a little bit in terms of the awards we won, so I'll skip some of that. And take you to, I was mentioning before again, the patterns and how these two different diagrams, even though they look very different, they're actually the same type of pattern, and this is really what I talk about when you're looking at time series data. You have to look across the multivariate time series data to be able to identify essentially what is the operating condition that's going on at that point in time. What Falkonry is able to do is we're able to discover patterns that are hidden in the data. From that, we then identify conditions that are given how your system is operating, and from that, essentially, we predict events or conditions that are going to happen in the future. Just to give you an idea of what this software looks like, you can see structurally, we sit on top of the data acquisition, and essentially, we pull the data from that and are able to do in real time this functional learning and provide outputs back into the data acquisition system. So for example, if you're using Historian, it's a very simple API, brings it in and sends it back out again. Because of that, it gives flexibility to the customer in terms of how and where those alerts go, and it ties into their system very cleanly. The second thing which is unique about us is we actually provide an explanation of how we came up with the results that we did. That's something which typical AI or deep learning systems do not do. We actually can tell you what signals contribute the most to it. So let's take a quick look and see how all this works. Here's an example set. I'm showing you 3 signals. And what Falkonry does is it goes through on its own, and it does unsupervised learning to basically go and say, I'm finding these different patterns. It color codes them. This is a simplified example, but it color codes them to say, I don't know what they mean, but this is where the human operator comes in and puts labels on known conditions because those log files are available to Falkonry. And it says, here in purple is a stoppage, there's a downtime that I can see, and normal operation. The yellow, I don't know, but it's quite interesting. I'm going to call that a early warning. And now I'm going to run in real time and have this run on its own, and it's going and finding these type of early warning conditions. We have many customers who've been deploying us already today. We're unique because we can provide both an in-cloud, private cloud option as well as on-premises. And there are many use cases that we've put into production already right now. Everything from predictive maintenance all the way into quality estimation and yield improvements for these different customers. Our team is pretty mature. We come from both the startup land with veterans from startup as well as veterans from the business area. And like I mentioned before, I thank you again. Apologize for that interruption. I don't think it was a clicker. We are Falkonry.